Hey, Dave. Donica Sanders had 9 targets on Saturday, 7 catches. What was he doing to become so involved with the offense and the passing game?
He was in the right spot at the right time. You know, you know, we weren't really, in this offense, it's not as much really targeting somebody as, calling a play that we think is going to be beneficial based on what the defense is. And, when the defense rolls a certain way or, plays a certain coverage or whatever the play is called, and the defense, kind of dictates where the ball was going. So, for whatever crazy reason, the ball was going to our left a lot more than it was to our right. And Donica was playing the outside receiver to the left, so we had, a bunch of targets. But, the thing that I loved in his game was he played at really top speed. He was really moving the guy off of his ground. Their corners were bailing, soft, inside leveraged corners. So you weren't really going to get the deep shots against him. So he was really running, his routes like he was going to get that deep shot. We took a couple early, but, the outs and the comebacks and things like that, he really sold the ball well. He sold the route well, and the ball found him. So, in a lot of those situations, had we been on the other hash, the ball probably would have went to the right. But it was, more of a function of what the defense was doing and what the play call was. That combination really tells a quarterback where the ball is going to go, and it found the Donica on Saturday night and played really well.
Additional questions for Coach Patenaude? Another one from Rod McKenzie.
Hey, Dave. Coach Collins talked a little bit after the game about the red zone and needing to do a better job. What did you see that was taking place in the red zone?
Yeah, we jumped off sides, right? You get down to the 1 yard line, we jump off sides. We had a snap issue, and they knocked us back, and then we ground it right back to that same spot again, and we jumped again. It was the same issue, same snap issue that we had, and that's unacceptable. This far into the season, we can't have those kind of mistakes in critical situations, which put us back. And then, Jeff tried to roll out and make a play, and we took a 2-yard sack. So, we just were not efficient in there, and that's not acceptable. We've done a really, really good job on third down, and we've done a really good job in the red zone over the last 5 or 6 weeks. But unforced errors, Rod, before the ball is snapped, is not acceptable. I can live with, the occasional hold or a push off or, something happening within the course of a game. Things are going to happen within the course of a game. That's football, right? Things are going to happen on the defensive side. Things are going to happen on the offensive side when the play is being run. But not being able to get the ball snapped. We were in a hurry-up play to catch them, which we've done the whole year, and we couldn't get the snap executed properly, and that's unacceptable. I can't live with pre-snap penalties that are unforced errors that had nothing to do with what the defense was doing. They didn't make a great tackle. They didn't dive over the top to make a great play. They didn't schematically scheme us up to come off the edge. We shot ourselves in the foot. That's on me. It's unacceptable. And you can't get down in the red zone and come away with anything but 7 points. That's our, one of our weekly goals is to be in there. And if you're inside the 10-yard line, score touchdowns. And we weren't able to do it, and that hurt us.
Question from Ken Segura from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Hey, if I can follow up on that, about the false starts, it looked like they were flinching. I'm curious if you could go into a little more detail about what kind of the snap issue was that was causing them to jump.
Yeah, I really don't want to get into specifics of it, Ken, just based on, some of the things that we're going to try to keep that more in-house. But, when you get down in there and you're clapping and the center's snapping and, you're trying to, be fast-paced, it's a different tempo than when you're in the course of the game. Everything gets sped up a little bit, And, the combination of the quarterback calling the play, calling for the ball, the center snapping it, and everybody kind of being choreographed in a rhythm of a quicker play got thrown off, and we jumped off sides.
Additional questions for Coach Patenaude? Rod?
Rod, you're keeping me going today, man. I appreciate it. Everybody else is bailing on me.
We talked about last week about how excited you were the way the run game was going, the way the offensive line and the receivers making their contributions. Another good week against North Carolina State. What are you seeing with that progression?
Again, I thought schematically we were really sound. Brent and Tashard did a great job of scheming that up. Versus those odd fronts, it's a different run game, right? It's very similar to the stuff that we were running against Syracuse and ran earlier in the season against Louisville. You have a more specific plan versus the odd fronts. I thought we schemed them up really good. We had the answers, the sprints and the flashes and the nakeds and the play actions off of it. We moved people up front. We were very gap solid. The tight ends played very, very well. Shout out to that whole tight end crew. That's the best game that they've played. Very physical in the run game. They were asked to, pull a lot and trap a lot. Did a really good job on the linebackers. A couple of the big runs that we had, we came from the backside and crunched or back blocked on their defensive end and set the edge on the backside. And JP and just kind of wound the ball back in there and hit it up in there. So those guys were really physical up front. Dylan DeVenny did a great job setting the point on some of the plays where we were trying to run outside plays. Did a really good job there. Took a lot of pride in it. So the combination of all of those guys and the choreographed runs and the play actions to try to protect the runs were really good. Wideouts did a super job getting on people. There's one play that we highlighted yesterday in our offensive meeting where Camp was on the backside, came all the way across the field. The backside safety was into the boundary. JP was just about to get hit, right, and then Jalen took the kid out at the last second, and JP ran off his hip for about another 7 or 8 yard gain. So those guys being selfless in the run game is critical for us. And really did a good job at the point of attack. You had little Nate McCollum was in there battling at the point of attack. Those guys did, a super job covering guys up. And so your 4 yard runs turns into an 8 or 9 yard run because, we don't have free hitters coming in from the third level. So just a really good group effort. And good execution, really good execution in the run game and multiple run schemes that we had lined up for those guys, I think really contributed to a lot of that. And then we got into some unbalanced stuff that we hadn't shown a whole lot of and, had some throws and some play actions off of that. So I thought the scheme was really good and the guys did a very good job of understanding it and executing it.
Just got a text from Kelly Quinlan at Rivals. His computer crashed, but he did have a question for you. You just alluded to it a little bit at wide receiver and having some depth issues with players unavailable on Saturday. And if you could talk about some of the players that stepped up at wide receiver.
Sure. I mean, Kalani Norris got his first burn, right? He went in there for 8 plays, I think it was, to give Jalen a little bit of relief. And the first play he went in there was a run play. And he hit the kid right under the chin on a run block and flat backed the kid, dropped him right on his back, just came out, played, really, really well, understood the plan. Nate and PJ were switching opportunities in the slot. Kerry has done a tremendous job of developing depth, right? I mean, a lot of, even the freshman guys got banged up earlier in the year, and we lost those guys for the year. So you got to continue to do it every day. We talk about this being a developmental program. There's no bigger tribute to that than when the young guys, just like, those defensive ends had to go in the game and play on Saturday, right? It's like, okay, it's the next man up mentality. Everybody has to be ready. We talked about it in the meeting on Sunday. Listen, you never know. You're one broken shoulder pad clip away from having to go in, and your expectation is that you're going to go in and perform at a really high level. And when you have the mentality that you're a developmental program, that everything in this program is earned, the young guys have to be forced to come along and be ready to play. And, it's the same thing at running back. Guys had to jump in and take some extra reps. And we've had offensive linemen have to sub in. And when you get to this point in the season, after we've been going basically since the middle of June, and we're playing, here, this will be 2 weeks past when we normally would play, that's going to become an issue. And the guys that can step up and create depth and step in and play at a high level and have a great understanding of what we're doing is a full complement to our offensive staff across the board to be able to develop guys who can come in, understand the plan, and execute. And I couldn't be any more proud of what those guys did. And, we don't use that as an excuse. There's no excuses, right? I mean, you have to be able to line up. Everybody's going through the same thing. The COVID thing has been crazy. You have injuries in football. But when you have the mentality and the culture that you're going to continue to develop players like we've done, even today, that's the result. And, you develop depth over the course of the year. And, it would be awesome if you could just say, hey, we're going to redshirt all these guys. Hey, you don't have to worry about it. We're going to redshirt, but that's not the case in college football anymore. You got to be able to rotate guys in, especially when you try to play at tempo. You're going to wear some guys out, and those young guys have to be ready to go, and it'll have to be ready to go Thursday night.
Final question for Coach Patenaude comes from Ken Segura from the IJC.
Hey, Dave, about the run game, to go back to that, I don't know if I'm just noticing only one big play set, but it seems like you have a lot of success, pulling from the backside. You need to touch on it. I'm curious if that's those guys' skill sets fit that well, or kind of what's enabled those plays to hit seemingly so frequently.
Well, I think that, there's a couple things to it, right? Especially against that defense, you have two A-gap bubbles, right? So you have a true nose guard who's trying to control the inside of the defense, and then you have two A-gap bubbles where those inside linebackers are. So with the guards being uncovered, it's a lot easier to pull those guys and create edges, and then you have the tight ends kind of pulling to be the second puller. So it's not a true counter play. It's more of a counter with the Y pulling, but the Y as the puller now can make that second thing right, that second fit right. So if something gets logged, they could pull it up inside, they could kick it out. They have a little bit more depth to be able to hit those things. And those gap schemes are very difficult to defend. And then when you add in the quarterback being able to read the backside, so you have pullers going one way, you have the quarterback reading the backside. So if they want to start chasing the pullers, it'll happen on the touchdown run, right? Jeff read the edge. They bent the only guy that was out there. They actually tackled the running back, but Jeff pulled it and went down the sideline for a long touchdown run. So, his ability to read off of the counter plays and then mix in your zones and mix in your powers and your outside zones gives you a nice complement so that, you just can't key on the pullers and just run over the top because you have a legitimately good runner at quarterback who can pull it and go to the house, anytime he pulls it. So the combination of that, and now when Jeff kind of reads it and they stay backside, you don't get as much pursuit over the top with the pullers. And, it's just a nice combination of that, and then add the play actions and the nakeds in off of that. So it's difficult to defend. We didn't hit the play actions as well as we should have. And that's something that we had to work on today and talk about. But, just the ability of those guys who are big athletic guys, they did a really nice job of, really running and setting edges. I think that counter and power scheme, really plays to our overall ability.